China is winning the 100-year marathon, and that it won't take till 2049 for President Xi to take China to being the preeminent superpower of the world, that Dr. Pillsbury thinks this could happen in the mid-2030s, and that this is the new reality of a China-led world order. As Foreign Minister of India, Dr. Jaishankar, what do you think of this?
You know, I heard him. I also had the pleasure of spending some time with him this morning. You know, definitely, you know, in the case of China, I mean, no question, China is today the number two power in terms of its size, in terms of its ability. Yes, there are sectoral areas where it may be even better than that, and I think he gave some examples of it yesterday. I look perhaps in a more detached, objective way. You know, he's an American looking at China. He's a China specialist looking at China. And you know, we've known each other for 40 years. I have great respect and regard for his understanding and his experience with China. I am today an Indian looking at the world. I'm looking at both US and China and a lot of other factors, you know, together. I don't think, you know, it's a binary situation. I don't think the world anymore can be analyzed in terms of a binary competition. I accept that, you know, that these are, I mean, looking at them, that US is still number one, and China today, you could say in many ways, follows thereafter. But I think the situation is much more complex. There are many more variables. I am, as a student of history, I'm quite reserved in my judgments about the future, where they go, how they happen. And I come back actually to the theme of your meeting today, the India moment. Because, and I would actually, rather than moment, say the moment is the, you know, the batsman has just taken the crease or just a little while ago. I think there's a full innings to be played. That innings is called Amrit Kal. It's a 25-year innings which is to be played. I think we have today set ourselves up. We have set ourselves up not just by foreign policy moves, because you have to do the deep domestic changes which are necessary for the rise of a power. China did that. You know, had our opponents done what they should have done during that tenure, we would be in a very different position. You know, we don't have the deep industrial strengths, the deep technology strengths of China, because that kind of thinking was never there. I mean, if you look from, you know, leave alone the 1970s and 80s, which were a disaster economically. You look even after the 1990s, where was the focus on building deep strengths? You know, instead we went for globalization mantras. So my point is, my takeaway from what he said, and from his books and from our many conversations from him, countries have to build deep strengths if they have to have global aspirations. Today, Make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, the kind of, you know, the kind of things we are doing, even improving human resources, skills, educations, you know, nutrition, all this is part of a matrix.
Dr. Pillsbury, you spoke of China's rise to the top of the world by the middle of the next decade. Dr. Jaishankar, Prime Minister Modi, and the Indian government are working towards what they call Amrit Kal, the rise of India to the top. How do you square these two things off, given the fact that you're estimating China will rise, and many like Morgan Stanley are thinking that India is witnessing a once-in-a-generation rise in global power? Dr. Pillsbury.
You know, I would say that the world is watching the India moment. The Indian political leadership has within its hands the chance to be sure that the world is not ruled by a dominant number one China. In many ways, it's up to India to decide what to do. And it's very scary, if I could use that word, to see Rahul Gandhi's comments about China. We have a few people in America who think the way Rahul Gandhi apparently thinks about China, that harmony is the key feature of that country. Almost all those people, the old panda huggers, they have changed their minds. They have come alive. They realize there's a global challenge from China. And if you carefully read Dr. Jaishankar's book, The India Way, you will see in there his proposal that India should play a shaping role in the global order, partly as a voice for the global South, but for other reasons as well. The reaction in China to Dr. Jaishankar's book is very negative. They don't like the idea that India could play a role speaking for the global South. They believe that's China's responsibility. So this challenge for the future of the India-China relationship, that's something I wish I had devoted more time to many years ago. But I now see India as the world's chance to be sure that China does not become a dominant, aggressive, and dictatorial society.
That's interesting. I also see we have a bit of a mutual admiration club here. Dr. Pillsbury, when he came yesterday, carried Dr. Jaishankar's book, The India Way. And I just heard from Dr. Jaishankar before we started this session that in the last several years, he's probably gifted more copies of your book than anybody else. So you got a good representative here because he wants people to read what you're writing. In fact, the very interesting thing, and I want to refer to some parts of The India Way.
We need to give both the books to Rahul Gandhi.